we are all making effort, but the effort that most children are making is at the speed of an ant. Yes, and where do we have to reach? The destination is very far. So if we go at the speed of an ant, it's difficult to reach the goal. And I remember there was this brother, and he said that I have been preparing for the civil services and I have made 2 attempts and I have not cleared, and I work really hard. So I said, okay, how many hours do you study? So he said 4 hours every day. So I said, no, 4 hours is not enough. You cannot clear the civil services with 4 hours. At least 10 hours you need. So he said, no, but I think, I'm working really hard in 4 hours. I said, even if you're working hard, 4 hours is not enough. So, there is a minimum effort required for anything. So if you try to burn an iron rod with the flame of a candle, can you do that? No, you need a temperature to melt the iron. Similarly, Baba says that you need to make effort to reach that state, that consciousness, that stage of the soul where you are eligible to go to paradise. But Baba says that most children are making the effort at the speed of an ant. And although everybody is making effort, but the effort at the speed of an ant is not enough. And the reason Baba says, so there are many reasons. So Baba talks about how Maya is pulling us down by catching hold of our nose. So Maya is just pulling us down by the nose and not allowing us to make the effort that we need to make. How many of you feel that you are making the effort that you need to make to reach where you want to reach in Satyug? Do you feel you're making enough effort? So everybody feels that we can do better. But then there is Maya, and Maya is playing games, and so many ways in which Maya is playing games. And in particular, today Baba talks about children having this habit of sulking, rootne ki aadat. Yes, so today Baba is talking about this habit of sulking. And what is this habit of sulking? I want you to understand this and check in yourself whether you have this habit of sulking. Because if Baba is underlining it, it must be important. So Baba says that most children have this habit of sulking. And what is this habit of sulking? So you see, we have received knowledge that every soul is different and we all have different sanskars. So the way people speak, or the way they put across their words, or how they communicate, or how they approach a task, how they finish a task, how they think about a certain situation. So if you took 10 people and you asked them, you gave them one situation and you asked them how would they deal with this situation, those 10 people will have 10 different ways of dealing with that situation, right? And maybe, in those 10 different cases, the situation will get better with the effort of those 10 different people, but their approaches would be very different. And since we are all very different, it's very obvious that sometimes sometimes or most of the time, I will not understand what is your intention or what you're trying to do, or I may misread into your intentions, or I may not like the way you approach something. But the thing is, if we keep this knowledge that everybody's sanskars are different in our awareness, then we wouldn't sulk about it. So you know that they are not doing it your way, they are doing it their way, but you are also having that faith that, okay, if this task has been given to them, or they are in that role, or that is their responsibility, so you trust them enough that they will do the best they can. And the other thing is, this, when you don't have this awareness, that when you don't hold this awareness that everybody's sanskars are different, and when you don't hold this faith in your heart that everybody is trying to do their best, then what do? You sulk. You start having this first thought, this person is not right, this person is not good. You start creating thoughts about their intentions, you start creating thoughts about them, and you start creating some kind of a cobweb inside you based on those thoughts. And that is the beginning of sulking. And sulking is a habit, much like most, everything that we do is out of habit. So this sulking is also a habit. So let's say, there's a maid working, and then you don't like the way she does the mopping or the cleaning, and then you start sulking about it. You say, I just get irritated, I don't like what she's doing. You're not even driving her away, you're keeping her, you're paying her, you're doing everything, but there's this sulking going on. You have an objection, you have an irritation about whatever that person is doing. And this is a sanskar. So you cannot be a detached observer to something that is not according to your sanskar, and then you start creating these thoughts of sulking. So do you have that sanskar? Yes, do you have that sanskar of sulking? So if you have that sanskar of sulking, then it starts with the neighbor, it starts with your mother-in-law, it starts with your brother, it starts with some colleague, somebody else. But then slowly, because it's a sanskar, it starts manifesting in the alokik family also. You start finding faults, and although you feel, somebody's way is not like your way, that's okay. But when you start creating negative thoughts about that, that is the habit of sulking. And what happens is, we come from the Lokik world, we have these habits, but we kind of bring them into the Alokik space also, slowly, gradually. So, in the beginning, you will not see the faults of the Didi or the Brahmin family, but then slowly you will start sulking about that also. And this is a very difficult sanskar, and Baba says one must be wary about the sanskar of sulking. And today I was just thinking, that I have seen that, there are people who join their dream jobs. So, people who want to be in a job and then they get their dream job. And then because of this sanskar of sulking, they start sulking with the colleague and the boss and everybody around in the office. And then they start saying that, this person didn't favor me at that time, and that person didn't help me at this time, and I'm heartbroken and I don't like this environment. And do you understand that that person went there to earn his bread and butter, but he leaves the job because he doesn't like the colleagues and the bosses? Did he go there to like the colleagues and the bosses? So, this sanskar of sulking is very interesting because it makes you lose focus on the goal, and you get caught up in the drama around you because of the sanskar of sulking. So, you forget that you have colleagues, you have a boss, and what you have to do is you have to cooperate with them, you have to work with them despite their sanskars, despite your sanskars, and bring some productivity to the office and earn your bread and butter. That's what you've gone for. So let's say you're part of a business, you're part of a job, or you're part of a family. So even in the family, you see that what's your goal? Your goal is to live. Your goal is to share the task, and it's a community. So you live in a family, and despite everybody's sanskars, you have to live, do your thing, and everybody does their thing, and you coexist. That's the family. But then what happens is you start creating these expectations in your mind, and those expectations are only there in your mind, and then you start getting disappointed because of those expectations, and then you start putting it down that this is wrong and this is not how they should be, and this is very wrong about them. And then you see there's this strange thing about the mind, that the mind takes no time to convert a thought into a feeling, and a feeling into an attitude, and an attitude into a vision, and a vision into an action. So, slowly, gradually, you start creating these thoughts, and these thoughts kind of create a big force, and then they convert into feelings and attitudes, and then you start perceiving differently. And when you start thinking, that this person is not good to me, or they are biased against me, and when you start creating these thoughts, you magically start seeing that happening, because that's your perception, and then you start acting out of it. So this is how difficult and how dangerous this sanskar of sulking is. And I would like you to check for yourself whether you have this habit of sulking in you. And if you have this habit of sulking, if you don't have the habit of letting go, so when you are interacting in a group, when you are with people, then, or when you are in an environment, so whether it is with situations or people, do you sulk or do you let go of the differences? And do you understand that anybody is not tailor-made for me? So there would be and there should be differences, and it is okay. And if you don't work on this sanskar of sulking, if you don't detect this, if you don't diagnose this sanskar of sulking, and if you don't work on it, then what happens is you bring it to Gyan Marg and in the Alokik family also. And then you start sulking with, of course, you don't sulk with Baba in the beginning. You have issues with, the instrument or the Brahmin family, and then you start sulking with them, and then slowly what you do is you leave Baba because of that, and you have no interest in doing Purusharth because of this habit of sulking. And then your Purusharth is like that of an ant. So sometimes you're getting up at Amrit Vela, sometimes you're reading the Murli, sometimes you're not even reading the Murli, because that habit of sulking has made you lose interest in Gyan. Yes, and I will tell you one thing. There was this one Kanya, and she came and she was telling me that the Didi in my center, I don't like the way she speaks to me, or I don't like some things about her attitude towards me, and she was telling me these things. So I just told her one thing. I asked her, have you given your life to Didi or to Baba? So she said, of course, Baba. So I said, who is Didi? Who is the sister you're talking about? So she said, she's just the center, the in charge. So I said, she's an instrument, right? So what is your relationship with her? She's speaking Baba's Murli to you, and you have to be thankful to her for that. And you have to take Baba's Murli and Baba's Srimad and claim your inheritance of the future, right? So she's just an instrument. Why are you getting so entangled in her? Even if she says something and you don't like it, what's the big deal? Yes, do you have to go and live with her in Satyug? No. You have to create your own fortune, right? In this time, she's an instrument. She's giving you the Murli. She's sharing the knowledge, the experience she has. You take advantage of that. Why are you getting entangled in her sanskar and her way of speaking and this and that? Why are you getting entangled in that? So, why do we have to get entangled in anybody's sanskar? All my relationships, all my attainments are with Baba. And because, Baba doesn't come to us directly, so he speaks the Murli and somebody is explaining the Murli, and you have regard for that soul because they are doing that seva, and you are also part of the yajna, so you also do the seva, and that's the relationship you have. She is doing her seva, you do your seva, and you also, give your assistance to the center, and you take Baba's Murli, you work on yourselves, your sanskar, and then you develop yourself into somebody who is eligible to be a deity. That's it. But the thing is, we have this sanskar of sulking, and because of this, we get entangled in the sanskars of souls and lose focus on the purpose. And then what happens is, there is this interesting phenomena that when you get entangled in the sanskars of a soul, all your energy goes or is directed towards avoiding that soul. So because of the sanskar of sulking, you get so irritated that you want to just avoid that soul. And I remember there was this one brother, he was into a job and then he started fighting with his boss, and then he left the job, and then he left the city also because he didn't want to ever see his boss. He left the city, he moved to another city, he blocked all his numbers, he blocked him on social media, he blocked him from everywhere, and still the only person he thought about was the boss. And whenever you talk to him, he would say how my boss was very bad and how my boss treated me and how he did this to me. So you see that if you have this sanskar of sulking, you get so entangled in a soul and their sanskars and what they said or what they did, and you keep playing it in your mind, and then what happens is all your energy is directed towards that soul and avoiding that soul, because you just don't want to be in that same space. You keep blocking numbers, so if you block numbers, you have this sanskar of sulking. Do you block numbers? So so this is a very good indicator. Blocking numbers means you have this sanskar of sulking. Why does anybody's action irritate you? Are you not a Swaraj Adhikari soul? And can you not give permission to every soul to be the way they want and you being comfortable with that? So are you not the master of your mind, that you can allow every soul to be the way they want and you are fine with it? So that's how much you have to work on yourself to overcome the sanskar of sulking. And if you have the sanskar of sulking, sooner or later, because this is a sanskar, setting changes, sanskar gets superimposed into something else. Sometimes, you think it's because of the person or because of the situation that you're behaving this way, but you have the sanskar. And if you lose this person with whom you are sulking right now, you'll find another person with whom you will sulk. And if the alaukic family is the only one left for you, then you will sulk with the alaukic family also. So this is why, and when you sulk with the alaukic family, then what do? You distance yourself from Baba. And how will somebody who distances themselves from Baba and Baba's Murli claim an inheritance? That's not possible. So be very wary of this sanskar of sulking. And I remember that, there was this teacher in our school, and what she would do is, it was, I think it was March one time, and there was this one girl in the class wearing a sweater, and she would say, that, are you feeling cold? So she would just point out to that girl, and she would do these many times, so she said, are you feeling cold in the month of March? So that girl started to take off the sweater because she felt maybe I'm doing something wrong. Then the teacher said, oh, no, I don't have a problem with anything. You wear it, it's your body, your choice. But then she would do this every day. So you see, we are trying to say that I don't have a problem with you choosing whatever you want to choose. And even when, it's in communication or interaction with you, every soul has the right to choose their way of speaking, their way of thinking, their opinion, their perspective, and they have the choice to speak it out also or behave the way they want. And I think, you should try this in yoga also. And I do this in yoga, that I practice that I give everyone around me full permission to be who they want to be, do what they want to do, and I am absolutely okay with it. Okay, because anyway, souls will do what they want to do and be who they want to be. Right? So you don't have to sulk about it. Yes, and you must know that when you are in a relationship, there is a goal. So let's say that, when you are in a relationship with the center, what's your goal? You listen to Baba's Murli through the instrument, you take guidance through the instrument, and you submit your seva through the instrument. That's your relationship with the instrument. So you just stick to that relationship. You stick to the boundaries of that relationship and don't go into analyzing anybody's sanskars or analyzing anybody's words or opinions. And if you start doing that, then slowly, gradually, you will feel this temptation to avoid that soul. And then slowly, gradually, because that soul is the source of, Baba's Murli and other stuff, then you will also start distancing yourself from Baba. And Baba says that children who don't pay attention to Murli and Purusharth, how will they survive, and how will they grow? So it's very important to address this sanskar of sulking. Okay, so first diagnose it, because the most important part of the treatment is the diagnosis. Yes, if you don't diagnose that I have the sanskar of sulking, how will you treat it? Yes, and if you have diagnosed it, then the method is very easy. Just pay attention and change it. Yes, whenever you find yourself thinking about somebody's sanskar, somebody's behavior, tell yourself it is your sanskar of sulking which is making you do it. So stop. I have to remember Baba. That is Srimad. Let everybody do what they want to do, and let everybody create the fortune they want to create. Okay, is it your duty to make somebody the king? No, it's your duty to be the king. So you be the king, and then whatever seva it's allotted, you do that. That's it. Don't go into these things. So this is there. And then Baba today says that paying attention is your natural sanskar. Yes. And the interesting thing is, if you didn't have the capacity to pay attention, you could never take tension. Yes, because how do you take tension? When you're constantly paying attention to something that is bothering you. That thing is there, but how is it bothering you? Because you're constantly paying attention to it. And I remember there was this one brother, and he told me something very interesting. He told me that he said, I can't sleep all night. So I said, why? So he said, because there is some construction work going on, in some, in the neighborhood or somewhere, and they have these, these jacks, and they have these connections, and they are able to even do the construction work in the night. And he said that I pay attention to every little sound that's happening in the night, and I feel that somebody is breaking into my door. So he said that construction work is happening for 3 months, and 3 whole months, every little sound I get up. And he said that I am not able to sleep at all. And he said, I cannot help paying attention. So I have this capacity to pay attention to this most, to this most subtle of sounds, and I cannot overcome this, and because of this I can't sleep. And you see that every soul has this capacity to pay attention, and if you look a little deeper into this, then every soul has every capacity. Whether it is the capacity of the thought, whether it is the capacity for creating feelings, whether it is the capacity of paying attention, whether it is the capacity of doing work, but the important thing is, what consciousness are you in? Because you see, every soul has man, buddhi and sanskar. And what is the man? The man is the capacity to create thoughts and feelings. Yes. What is the buddhi? The capacity to pay attention. So which soul doesn't have a man and buddhi? Every soul on the planet has man and buddhi. But the thing is, if I am vicious and if I am body conscious, then where am I paying attention? To everything that is not in my control. And when I am paying attention to things that are not in my control, then can I be peaceful or will I be tensed? So we are using, because we are body conscious, we are using this capacity to pay attention on everything that is not in my control. And that is the reason why we are tensed. But Baba says, now you become soul conscious and you start using this capacity to pay attention for self progress. Yes. And I remember there was this one sister, she told me that she went to an Ayurvedic doctor for some treatment, and that Ayurvedic doctor gave her some medicines which had to be taken every hour. So, every hour she had to take some doses. So, that's the pattern, I think, of Ayurveda. So, she said that I couldn't pay attention to that medicine. So, I stopped taking it. I couldn't remind myself every hour to take the medicine. But then she said that every hour I check my husband's phone. So, so I said, and that you can remind yourself to do, right? So you can check your husband's phone every hour, and you can pay attention to that, but you cannot pay attention to taking your medicines which will heal you every hour, right? So this is how we are misdirecting our capacities, and it is all because of body consciousness. So when you're body conscious, and in that body consciousness you are more of a wife than a human being. Yes, you think of yourself more as a wife than a human being, then you are able to pay attention to checking the husband's phone, but you're not able to pay attention to taking care of the body. And when you know that you are a soul, so just look at the shift in consciousness. So when you think of yourself as a wife, you will only be fixated with your relationship with the husband, and you will try to fix it in many ways. When you think about as a human being, you will be very interested in the body. But when you know that you are a soul, when you have, when you are very soul conscious, then you will pay a lot of attention to detaching from the body every time you find even a few seconds, and just stabilizing yourself in your spiritual form of light and peace and purity, and drawing in power from Baba by remembering Baba with all your heart. Because you know that I, the soul, am being nurtured and sustained by Baba only. So when you are in the soul consciousness, you will pay a lot of attention to detaching yourself from the body and remembering Baba, and filling yourself, filling your heart with Baba's love and Baba's peace. So this is something you will pay attention to when you are soul conscious. And paying attention is a natural capacity of the soul, but what you pay attention to depends on the consciousness you are in. Similarly, thinking is a capacity of the soul, but what you think, how do you think, how much you think, depends on your consciousness. So if you're soul conscious, you will think about everybody as a soul. You will think about what I have to do, not about what they are doing. You will think about how I can use my time, thought and energy to create a fortune for myself. So you will always create positive, powerful, purposeful thoughts if you are in the consciousness that I am a soul. And if you are body conscious, then you will create thoughts about other people's behaviors, sanskars, events, and this and that, which is not in your control, and create tension. Okay. Om Shanti.